Yo!
You almost hit me in the face.
Yo, what's up guys? It's Grace and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I have here my mom because there's a very serious topic. Before I even say what it's about, trigger warning: if you're triggered by sexual assault or anything like that, you probably shouldn't watch this video because I don't want you to get triggered or anything like that. But yeah. Yes, Mom. Okay. This happens every single YouTube video. So today I have my mom here because my mom went through stuff when she was a child. A lot of people in this past year has been coming out and talking about their sexual assaults because a lot of victims are told to be quiet. Most of them are told to be quiet, and it's time to speak up in the hashtag #MeToo movement and all that type of stuff. So today that's what we're doing. So I have mommy here and hashtag time's up.
Time's up?
Yeah, that's the hashtag. Well, hashtag me too, whatever the heck. So
okay.
I was planning on giving mommy the camera and just telling her like to do it, but because I'm more talented, whatever. And I'm a natural at just telling stories. She's not. So I'm just gonna have to be here with her and guide her because she doesn't know how to tell a story apparently. So let's go ahead and get started. When did this happen?
Between the ages of like 6 to about 13. Well, my mother would be at work and my father would first it started out like he was coming in to just see what you were doing, rub your back. It would start out like he was rubbing your back and then went from there to rubbing other things. And then it came to the point that he was doing it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times a week. And it was only when my mother wasn't around because my mother wasn't supposed to know. And he would tell me that if I said anything, it would cause a big to-do in the family. They would end up divorced and mom would have a tizzy and he would have to kill me or hurt me or do something to me if I ever spoke up.
So he threatened you to say?
Right, he would use a threat to me saying that if I said anything that he would do something to me and it would just destroy the family to keep my mouth shut.
When he came in, was your sister in the room?
No, and sometimes he would tell us to come and get in bed with him because for a long time Cindy and I shared our bedroom. So he would tell us to come in there, or if Cindy wasn't in bed, or if I wasn't in there. I didn't know he was also abusing my sister until many, many years later. And we had never spoke to each other about it, so neither one of us knew it was happening to the other.
So when this was going on, you two didn't sleep in the same room?
We was in the same room, but sometimes she wouldn't have been in the room, or she would have been in the room, or he would tell us to come in the room with him. Most of the time when we were, I don't know when we were younger because I don't remember all of it, but when we were older, this was after my brother left, so she had a room and I had a room then.
You thought it was only you?
Correct.
So when did you find out that you both?
When me and my sister actually talked about it was like 20 years ago. This was when I was married to my oldest daughter's father. And that's when Cindy said something to me. And at first, I didn't even remember it when we started talking about it. She said, I have something to ask you. I want to see if it was happening to you too, or if it was just me. So she started talking about it and asking me questions, just kind of getting into it. And I was at first like, no, what are you talking about? And then when she started really talking about it and getting into what it was, because at first I wasn't sure what she was meaning, I was like, oh my gosh. So yes, it was happening to both of us. She didn't know it was happening to me, and I didn't know it was happening to her. She started drinking a lot. She started taking prescription drugs to not have to think about it. So obviously she still remembered it, but up until the point that Cindy asked me, I didn't even remember it. I never thought about it. It was like in the back of my head, somewhere buried, because I didn't want to think about it. So, until she brought it up and it actually, I remembered it, then is when, you know, it was like, oh my gosh, you know. But she had been thinking about it obviously all that time because she had to go to a rehab for drugs, alcohol. She wrecked her car numerous times. She would leave her children because she was just on a binge because she didn't know how to handle what happened.
You said when you were littler, he favored Cindy.
He always favored Cindy, and it was a little bit different with Cindy than what it was with me. And when we went to counseling years later, when it came out, the counselor was saying that I was like a mistress and Cindy was like his wife. He would even buy her special stuff and different things and do different things, and I didn't even know this until later on. A nightgown to be in and different things, and he never did anything like that for me.
You said, like with Heather, you said that you could tell that's how he was like with Cindy. So
well,
you
just
could tell back
with
then?
Both of us. Well, I mean, no. When you thought about it and you think back to that, how it was like he was grooming you to do what he wanted you to do. Like he would do things for you. He would do whatever you wanted. He would make it feel like you were special. Want to take you out to dinner or want to buy you things or stuff like that. Which he did that for me, but he never bought me a nightgown, which I'm glad he didn't. But it was just a thing, a way to like, yeah. It was a thing to get you in and make you think it was just because you were his daughter and he was your dad, and it was just something special between you and him. And that's the way that it's supposed to be, which it's not, but he was trying to make it out like that's the way a daughter and father's relationship was supposed to be.
Back then, did you think that was normal?
Yes.
You thought that's what dad was supposed to do?
He made you think that was what a normal relationship between a daughter and a father was. But the bad part of it is nobody around knew, and my father was a preacher. He preached, he went to the jails and talked to inmates and was a Christian. All of this time,
Christian.
Yeah, that he's sexually abusing both of his daughters. Nobody knew. I believe that our mother knew, and she denied the fact that she knew because she didn't know how to handle it either, what was going on.
Well, when did she find out?
Well, she says she didn't know until Cindy and I actually went that day to talk to them.
And what was that day?
That was like 20 some years ago. And they both denied it at first, and then they didn't, you know, they kind of admitted to it, but Mom still said she didn't do it. But what my dad tried to say was that Cindy, which is my sister, and I wanted him to do it, and we were kids. We had no idea what was even going on. We thought that's the way it was supposed to be. And he told us there that day that we were the ones that was asking him to do it and wanting him to do it and asking him to be sexually abusing us. It took a long time for her and I to get the courage to even do it because we knew when we went to talk to Mom and Dad that they would deny it, that they ever even knew. And they acted like it was our fault, not their fault, that it even happened. And that's when everybody went to counseling. Mom, Dad, Cindy, and me. And me and Cindy went separately, and Mom and Dad went to a counselor. And that's when the counselor told my dad and my mom that Dad had to write up that paper about I don't remember how it was worded, I'd have to ask Cindy, but he denounces being married to Cindy and being as his wife, and then he had to burn it to actually say that it was actually supposed to be done. So there they admitted and knew it, or they wouldn't have gone to counseling for it and did all this. But then another 10 years later, when we went again to talk to them about it, they denied it and said that we wanted it, and we wanted Dad to do it, and you know, they had nothing in it, and it was a lie, and it was just a big to-do. And then I didn't talk to my parents for like, what, 3 years? But now, if you would talk to my father, he admits it, and my mother holds the fact that we went to them about it and holds that over my father's head. And so now she threatened my father that if he ever admits to it again or says anything about it, she would leave and she would divorce him, take everything, and you know, blah, blah, blah. So we've never talked about it again since then. But my sister to this day still has not talked to my father or my mother and will not have anything to do with them. I have tried my best to forgive my father, let it go. We go out to dinner with them on occasion because they are my parents. So that's the only parents I'm ever going to have, you know, but that doesn't mean, you know, I've forgotten it. So my brother used to like try to touch us. He would try to hold us down and touch our boobs or touch our crotch while we were there. He would, like, our bathroom was here, his room was here, and if he had like a friend over, and we would come out and they would be sitting under the bed and try to watch us or see if they could see us naked when we come out of the bathroom and different things. But he has held us down before and touched us inappropriately also. He apologized for doing it, and he admitted to doing it and says he shouldn't have done that. And he doesn't know that he did it. He's never denied it. Did go to the cops about it. Cindy went separately and I went separately myself. Mine and her stories matched up perfectly to the timeline, what happened, when, how it happened to a T, because the cops said, I couldn't believe that after that many years, you know, the two of you, your stories matched up perfectly. They said due to the fact that it was so long ago that the precedent or whatever you call it, that they could not do anything. They did go out and talk to them, and my mother went into a complete rage, was hitting the cops, smacking the cops and telling them they wasn't arresting my dad, blah, blah, blah. And
was they even trying to arrest him?
They wanted to basically talk to him. They was going to probably take him in and talk to him, but I don't think that they ended up doing that. My dad at that time was working in the jail, which was the cops that we spoke to. So he initially, as soon as this happened, he quit his job the very next day because he knew for a fact that they would fire him, and that would even get him in more trouble if he was working in the jail. So he quit his job at the jail the very next day.
Did you ever really settle it with them?
With mom and dad? I mean, I don't know. I mean, dad admits it. He won't admit it really in front of mom, but dad admits that he did, you know, and he says he's sorry for what he did and he would never do it again. But I don't believe that because I've watched him with other girls, like when we're in a store or whatever, and I've watched how he watches and looks at them, and then I've watched how he acts towards Heather.
I remember when I was little and you and Cindy were always talking about something, and you always said something when it happened when I was younger, and you said because we were too young you wouldn't tell us, but you would always let us guess, and then we guessed abuse, and you're like, that's kind of like, it was more, but you wouldn't tell us until, like, I don't know, until we kept begging you to tell us what happened. And then, well, I didn't really understand what that meant at the time. And every time we would go over to Nanny and Pap's, Nanny would not let us, like, or like us when we sat on his lap or something like that. Yeah. And I remember we would always go out in the car and be like, why is Nanny always saying to not sit on his lap, or looking at us meanly, or like making all those faces and like sighing and stuff like that. Like, so when you're out in public and we're with him, you can tell that he's still that way.
Well, you can tell he still looks at women or girls in a weird kind of a way, and he's always done that since I can remember, since all this has happened. And I, you know, kind of watch and pay attention. No, I think he's changed, but I think if he had an opportunity that...
Like with Heather or something.
Or, yeah, that it could be a possibility. I don't know. A person like that you can never really trust. No matter... I don't care what anybody says. I don't believe you can ever trust them after that.
Have had problems in your life dealing with that? Or did you just, like, let it go?
Well, I kind of let it go, but then I had... terrible relationships with men because you know, and I've been abused all my life by other guys, my husbands, boyfriends, because I just thought that's the way it was supposed to be, that was normal, to be abused. So that's why I thought it was. Even when I was younger, my first husband was abusive. Even then, I guess it was like in the back of my mind, and I thought that, you know, being abused, being mistreated was just a normal thing. So every guy I've ever gone out with, I've ever been with, has been somebody that either physically abused me, mentally, emotionally, some kind of abuse is all I've known all my life.
What do you say to other people that are in that situation?
Well, it isn't normal. And, you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody that is abusing you, definitely get out. Don't believe them, but you have to have a plan. And have that plan in place before you even try to get away. or get out of the house or whatever. So just make sure that you have everything, money, a place to go, a car, and whatever. Don't stay in any abusive relationship. Nobody deserves it, and I didn't deserve it, and no matter what my dad said, I wasn't asking for it, I didn't want it, and it should have never happened.
And a lot of people stay in relationships because they love them and they think, like, I don't want to leave them, like, I need them, or they say they're going to change, but they say that they're going to change every single time they do it. So they're not going to change.
No.
They never will. And it's not your fault.
No, it's not your fault.
A lot of people think that I didn't say no enough, or I could have tried harder to get away or something like that. It's not true. Like, most of the time, you can't get away. It's not your fault. And a lot of people ask, when people say that they were raped or something like that, they ask, what were you wearing? Or something like that, as if it was the girl's fault. You can't really even say that, because in her situation, if you're 5 years old, what was he wearing? Probably a Dora the Explorer shirt. Like, it's not your fault at all.
You should be able to walk in front, walk out on the street, naked if you want, and not have to worry about being raped or anything else. It shouldn't have anything to do with what you look like or what you wear. And that's not even what the reason is. It's because the person is a pervert, sick, and that's what they get off on, is abusing and killing women.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with sex or anything else. It has to do with that's what they want to do. And they're sick in the head.
Don't ever think that it's your fault, because just because you have something you're wearing doesn't mean yes.
No.
Like,
no means no.
Yeah. It doesn't mean convince me or force me into doing
maybe it. Or hold me down and do it. No. No means no.
That goes for girls and boys.
Let's get better. I mean, I had a time that I was just like, cried about it a lot and was like upset about it, but I didn't go turn to drugs. I didn't turn to alcohol. I didn't do any of that. So, it does get better. And
well, that was Mommy's story. If you want to follow her on Instagram. You don't have an Instagram, but no. I think people want you to get an Instagram.
We'll see after this.
So if you want her to get an Instagram, tell us. Well, I don't know if I should say, like, my actual intro, because, like, this isn't supposed to be a funny video where I'm like, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Like, I can't really say that in this. So, like, if you want to give this video a thumbs up, like, you can. And subscribe to my channel. I can't really say this in this type of video. Well, subscribe to my channel if you hadn't already, because new videos every week. And if you want Mommy to do another video, then comment below and tell me if you want Mommy to do another video about other stories that's happened in her life. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Mom, do the thing that I do. Bye. And then you like to do this and then like, I don't know. Bye.